198 of the Gaming Fix podcast on November 13th, 2021. I'm your host, Andre Cole, aka The Wet Gamer, aka your partner's favorite regional slang. I am joined today by Alex.
I'm a pretty big fan of Vico.
Is that slang for Vicodin? Are you just like the kids popping Vicodin and like, give me that Vico?
Nope. Any other guesses? Nope. It's chocolate milk.
It's drugs.
No, it's chocolate milk. I also like bunny hugs.
Okay, wait. Why Vico? Is that like a brand? Is it a...
I think it's a brand.
Okay.
But yeah, bunny hugs are also good. There's another one. What is it called? Kitsch, I think.
Kitsch? Is that just like random shit you have around the house? Like...
No, I think it's your underwear.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is all like prairies, Canada, like Alberta, Saskatchewan stuff.
Okay. Don't get your kitchen a bunch or something. I don't. Okay.
Yeah. And drink your Vico.
All right.
While wearing
Pat.
a bunny hug.
Oh, we're big fans of like Wicked, Rad, Sick in this house. It's a mix of like West Coast and Northeast slang.
Okay. And Allison.
See, it's interesting thinking about your own speech patterns, because I use rad on like a daily basis to the point where I sometimes forget that is that kind of slang because I use it all the time. But I was also thinking about how weird deep Minnesota slang can be, and I kind of, I kind of love it, even if I'm not necessarily using it all the time. There's just like very specific things that are very Minnesota when you talk about where it's like, and there's the one that I was thinking of is I can't remember exactly, but I saw a Twitter post a while back. I was like in Minnesota saying. That there are specific ways that you can say like yeah, no, or no for sure, but it's like you can combine both yes and no, but the way that you order it, you know exactly what they mean. I kind of like that.
100%.
It's like
like yeah, no, like that makes total sense.
Yeah, or just say when you combine like oh yeah, no for sure. And it's like, what? Excuse me. Yep. There's several different levels there of yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's I don't know. So
double, double negative positive. Like what?
There's always the you betcha, which
classic.
That's a weird one too, because like some people claim that I've seen people claim that that's like Seattle slang too, but it is absolutely
it's a Minnesota
North thing and Midwest, but I mean
Midwest in general. Yeah.
Like there's like a beer that I like that says like you betcha is one of the like little like notes on it, and it's like I don't know why a Seattle brewery is appropriating this.
Like this is
the other big one that I say all the time without thinking about it is ope.
My God, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Ope is like
it's like if you know, like you go like oh, like somebody's like you're about to bump into somebody in the grocery store and you go oh, sorry, yeah, and nobody, everybody does it in the Midwest, but people don't do it here,
which is so weird because I didn't notice it was a thing until I saw somebody point it out, and then you just see how often you say "ope" in the Midwest, which is constantly
like, "Ope, let me sneak right past you."
Exactly. Oh my gosh! Yeah.
I was randomly made privy to the fact that apparently Canadians say the long and the short of it pretty frequently, which I guess is not said as much in the States.
We say it a lot in Michigan, so I say it all the time. But
yeah,
like
I think that's pretty Midwest too.
It was pointed out to me in a meeting where I was not with the other guy who's from Newfoundland, so complete opposite side of the country. And apparently he also says it a lot. And at one point I'd said, well, the long and the short of it is blah 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 blah, and then like two other people in the meeting started laughing. And they're like,
funny.
is this just a Canadian thing? We thought it was just a this guy thing. Okay.
The Midwest has a lot of, I don't like saying the Midwest is basically Canada thing, because
But there's a lot of like
different-
cultural
yeah.
there's a lot of cultural
and
elements
language-wise,
that
there's a lot of
of
similarities.
overlap.
But Andre, how about
Yeah.
for you? Have you picked up any like sick like Kansai?
Oh god, Kansai Ben is a whole fucking thing. It's the language of comedians in Japan.
Hell yeah.
Like, so if anyone who wants to sound like funny, they go into Kansai Ben, which is like the Osaka, Kyoto area. I don't know how it ended up that Kansai became the popular one. I've got this folder here of Shiga Ben, which is the prefecture I live in.
Yeah.
It's like, let's see, what do we got here? Trying to, what's a good one? Like Honane instead of Matane. It's like see you later. That's just one of the main things that Kansai Ben does is replace for negative things like verbs. When you conjugate, you can put nai on the end. That makes it negative. So like tabe nai is like don't eat. But in Kansai Ben, instead of nai, you use hen. So you tabe hen, and it's like, I'm not gonna eat that. And then they just like add hen to things, and you get like old men going like, oh, suma hen instead of sumimasen, suma hen.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah. And like it's hard for me to know what's Kansai Ben and what's like, just what's like slangy Japanese and whatever. But I have to hit my kids. I've like developed almost a catchphrase at my school where I'm like, nani shiten no, which is what are you doing? Because they're like, when kids are doing something, we're like, nani shiten no, that's weird. Or nani yuten no, what are you saying? So it's gotten to the point where my kids are like, oh, say the line. It's like the Simpsons fucking meme. They're like, oh, they're just trying to get me to say it. Like they say weird shit.
Man.
Like, are you gonna say it? You gonna say it?
That's great.
There's just
Say the
so
line.
many like so many weird like Japanese slang things, and it's like even just following it from overseas, there are definitely times where I'm like, what does that mean? And then you realize, oh, this is Hakata dialect from Fukuoka, or something like that, and you're just like, what the.
One last one before we should probably move on from slang at some point. We don't have to. We could do a slang fix, but hang out with people from Singapore, because Singlish has got just the weirdest shit, and I love it. Like land suck thumb. Like
What?
that means like
Pardon.
if there's something you really don't want to do, like you're forced to do something you're not interested in. Land suck thumb. There's so many of them. The other day Ingrid was telling me about how she saw someone who was like standing at a train stop and looked very blur, and I was like, blur? What does that mean? And apparently that's what happens like if you're looking confused, is you look blur. Like they just use words that we have, and then it makes no sense.
I mean, hey, that's slang, baby.
Yeah, papaya.
Sure, yeah. I mean, that just seems like a fun thing to say. Like, yeah, papaya. I might start saying that.
Yeah, papaya is something we say all the time in Formula One. I mean, not that specific thing, but there's a team that their cars are compared to papayas because they're orange.
There's die already, which just sounds very aggressive.
I say that all the time anyway.
But
yeah,
but it's
die already.
But when they say it, it means like, oh, I'm in trouble.
Oh, I usually am saying it in reference to Republicans.
Hey.
Hey.
damn.
Cannot also can is another one. Anyways,
Oh.
we could have a whole cast about Singlish, because Singlish is weird as hell.
You might also be saying die already while playing Battlefield 2042. as you gun down your enemies, and
That
they
was-
refuse to die for some reason. I don't know.
That was not bad.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, video games.
So yeah, Alex and Pat, you've been diving into the early. You paid the. I don't know how much Alex paid. I know Pat paid just the absurd amount of money for.
I
It was worth it. The skin you get with the Ultimate Edition's fucking rules. So whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
it's
got the
it's like
gold,
fucking
the gold
Dune
edition
ass,
for
still suit
plebes.
shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm the only
And-
person I know who bought the Ultimate one, and so I'm the only person with the Dune looking skin. So
There you go.
Well,
Oh well,
yeah.
it looks like Dune. Like, are we
Nah,
talking like Duncan?
So you look like
Idaho,
so you
Paul
look
Atreides?
like a fucking worm.
it's a bit. I wish it's a bit of a stretch to say it's like Dune, but it is like this. It's like instead of a ghillie suit, it's like almost like a. It almost is more Death
A
Stranding.
billy
It's kind of like
suit.
a cross between Death
Okay.
Stranding and Dune because it's like
Huh.
Sure.
it's like. I think it's supposed to be like active camo cloth. It doesn't do anything in the game, but
Mhm.
it's like this futuristic looking almost rain poncho-y coat thing. It's cool looking. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Pat-
pulled it up in the skin menu and was like, hell yeah, I'm glad I spent the extra $20 or whatever.
40, or I guess
No,
20
it's not
from
40.
the
From the
20
gold.
from the gold. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you
from
get
the
some other
gold.
stuff with it too, not just that skin.
Mhm.
Yeah. Pat,
Um,
have you played on the Antarctic map yet?
No, I haven't gotten it to pull yet. I'm a little concerned.
Good.
It looks good. I'm a little concerned that the map rotation works the same way that Battlefield or Battlefront 2's did for a long time, which is it finds you a game, and if there aren't any games to drop you in, it spins up a new server, and the new server always
Oh.
starts with Hourglass because I've
Mm.
gotten Hourglass almost every time I've played. The only maps I've seen are Hourglass and then the Renewal. The one that's like half desert, rocky stuff and half green through a wall.
Is which one's Hourglass?
Hourglass is actually, I had one game on Orbital too, which was the beta. Hourglass is the one in Qatar, so it's like the desert.
Is it like the
city.
Sandstorm one?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
That one-
Um,
That one's pretty cool.
it's pretty cool. I would really like to see more maps.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've gotten that one like 3 or 4 times, and then Renewal twice, and then the Orbital once.
Interesting.
And it's so I've seen like less than half the maps at this
Yeah.
point, and I would like to see more. But I think it does that server spool up thing, which will be, frankly, I hope I'm wrong, because that's why I stopped playing Battlefront, because I played Kashyyyk like
Mm.
probably 30 or 40 times, and I played
Hmm.
the other maps like 2 or 3 times each, and I
Mm.
just got sick of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I have played Discarded, Kaleidoscope, Orbital, and oh god, what was the other one? Manifest? Yeah, Manifest.
That's right. I
So-
did play Discarded once in a Portal server, but it didn't come up in the regular map rotation.
Yeah.
So
The thing and Discarded is the one in India. The ones I've actually found the India one and the what's it called? Antarctic one, Breakaway, I think, both really interesting in how they affect vehicles, which has never
Mhm.
really been a factor before, because like with Breakaway, the Antarctic one, if you're in something that has wheels, the wheels can start to freeze. Like, and
Oh.
you'll notice the bottom of your car is just getting all frosty, and then like sometimes you'll try to turn and it won't, so you have to like try to
Oh.
turn it a couple of times, and then you're like, and then it'll turn. It's great.
Mhm.
But that's also a great time to use the hovercraft. I don't know if you've used the
Mhm.
hovercraft, Pat,
oh yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
the hovercraft
hilarious. It's
hovercraft
so funny.
is good. Yeah.
It's you can do
Uh,
some really weird physics shit with it. Like one of the points on Breakaway, the Antarctic one, is like up on a hill. Like it's a big mountain. You're supposed to zip line up to it or take a helicopter or stuff. But you can kind of Skyrim it. Like you can climb the mountain with the hovercraft in a really janky way, and it's hilarious.
There's a bug right now where you can drive the hovercraft up the side of the VAB in Orbital.
That's
So like
amazing.
the funniest thing that happened last night is we were playing on Orbital and defending in a breakthrough mode, and
Mm.
my friends and I were on top of the building, and then a hovercraft just came like shooting up over the lip of the building over my head and crushed me. and then just kept going. And I was like, how's there hovercraft on the roof? My friend was like, yeah, there's a bug, you can drive it up the side of the building.
That's
And
really
for those who have
funny.
not played, it's like 100-story building. It's very tall.
Yeah.
That's
Are-
really great.
Anyway,
So when they're driving up the building, are they just like going 90
I have
degrees
to
and like,
assume- yeah, I don't know. I
or
haven't
are they
seen
just
it,
like,
but
okay,
all I saw
That's
was
so
it coming
funny.
off on top of the building, but I would
Mhm.
imagine that yes, they're flying
Okay.
up it.
it's like driving perpendicular. Okay.
And I did. I think the general, the one real negative I have about the game is, I wish that it was a little more technically sound. Like
Mhm.
it's incredibly poorly optimized and runs like crap on anything except for like I know, Alex, you said it's running really well for you, but you've also got like a
Yeah.
professional development rig.
Yeah, like
Um,
3080, 5950X, like it's
yeah, on a
using
2070
a lot of
Super.
power.
On a 2070 Super, which should be more than fine to run any game that's running on PlayStation 5. This game, it runs at like 30 to 40 frames a second
Could you
consistently.
put your CPU priority to high?
I don't
Yeah.
think I'm CPU bottlenecked, but I do need to look at some more telemetry to figure that out. But
Yeah.
um,
I was in a couple servers where people were saying like, "Hey, what video cards are you all running this on?" And some person said like a 1080 Ti and was saying it was running like garbage for them. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
and so I think that needs to improve, and
Yes.
DICE has never been very good at sorting that out, so I'm a little skeptical that they will, but I think they really need to if the game's gonna like have real legs, because people are gonna get sick of it and just go play Halo instead if if it doesn't, they can't get it together from an optimization standpoint. The server stability is really bad also. It seems like, this is pure speculation, but it seems like if you're solo queuing, it's pretty seamless. It works most of the time. I think, and people keep saying crossplay, disabling crossplay helps, and I think it does. But I think what I noticed from playing with 3 people that were spread out solo and with one other person through crossplay, actually, they were on PlayStation and we were able to party up, which was cool. I think it has more to do with region than it does with crossplay. And I think the reason that crossplay can make it worse is because you're opening up to a wider player pool, so there's people more spread out. Because
Interesting.
even when we turned off crossplay, my 3-player group with me on the West Coast, someone in the Midwest, and someone in North Carolina, we were getting errors like 3 out of 5 times. We just had to keep hitting the queue until finally a server would let us in. But then I solo queued for a couple matches, totally fine. And then when I played crossplay with somebody in Portland, which is like, and I'm in Seattle, so it's like 3.5 hours away, totally fine. So I think it has more to do with regions than it does, and trying to put players from different regions in the same server. But I could be wrong. I'm not an expert on that stuff at all. That's just anecdotal. But yeah, if they can find a way to get the performance going a little better, or at least make like DLSS work. I don't even think it works right now. Because like,
yeah, it sounds like if you go into an INI file, then you can like make it work. But yeah, just like in the game, those settings aren't doing anything.
I think the basic graphics settings are doing something, but I think you can't adjust them in game and have it have any effect. It doesn't tell you have to restart the game, but I think you do, because the like menu screen ran at higher frames for me when I changed those settings and then restarted the game. I haven't had a chance to try it in a match because I did it right before I went to bed, but I'm going to try that and see if it helps, dropping some stuff to medium and keeping some stuff at high. But DLSS is weird because I turned it on and played with it a little bit, and you could tell that the quality was being affected. Like I could see that the resolution was shifting and stuff like you would expect with DLSS, but then it wasn't giving me any increased performance at all. Just made the game look worse. So I don't know. That stuff, hopefully they'll figure some of that stuff out. Thankfully, the game seems less broken otherwise than I expected. Like the game mechanics are less broken. There's little things like the driving the hovercraft up the building, but it's not
I mean, that's
it's not like a constant stream of broken shit.
It's the kind of thing where the stuff that does happen is usually funny or chaotic.
Yeah.
But it's just like when you run into those like things like the server, you load into a game and it hangs for about a minute and then it says error 2002G and you're like, well, queuing again. Like that stuff is annoying, but,
Yeah.
but that will get sorted out. Andre, yes, the map does work, by the way.
Okay, the map does work.
Yes, the map works.
Yep.
So compared to like the beta was pretty bare bones. What are we looking at here that like what kind of progression stuff have we seen?
Lots.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
So
the same as Call of Duty.
yeah, and you get a lot of not upgrades. You get a lot of unlocks for every level you get. The screen where they come up sucks, but whatever.
What sucks about it?
Well, you
'cause
click
it'll-
it's like
Yeah.
a stream of stuff at the
yeah,
bottom.
there's like
Mhm.
let's say like think like a gallery view of images. It's like let's say
Okay,
7 to 10 images on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Pat, like I don't know if you found if
If you-
you're like, oh, I just want to click on one. Like let's say you click on the one in the middle, it'll dismiss everything else to the left of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then it's just
What?
all
Yeah,
gone.
you have
So
to click on the one that you're on. You click on the one
Yeah.
that you're on one at a time to scroll through everything. And if
Exactly.
you don't do that, it goes away forever, and you'll never find
Yeah,
what you unlocked.
yeah, so you have to like
Uh,
go through the
that's-
menus, and it doesn't like show a little star that's being like, oh, this is the new
What?
thing. It's just like you have to look
What?
at like, oh, this has like a little number badge that says 7 on it. So now that I'm above 7, I know I have this.
The menus
Oh
and
my-
UI in
oh
this
my.
game are not very good, and it's ridiculous. I was saying to my friend last night, like Battlefield 1942 and Battlefield 2 had the perfect menus, some of the best menus in any multiplayer game ever. Yes, they look like they're 20 years old, but they worked. Just keep doing
Mhm.
Why did they abandon the way that
I-
those menus worked? Because they
I
were
would
great.
say Battlefield 3 also had a great one. What with
was fine, yeah.
with battle log and stuff like that stuff worked seamlessly.
They've
but-
progressively gotten worse and worse from a UI and menu perspective over
Yeah.
time, and I don't understand.
But yeah,
This
but-
one is not quite as bad as 5, but it's close.
yeah. But the thing that matters most about it is that the gameplay rips. Like pretty much everything I was worried about in the beta is a non-issue. Like
Yeah.
the spotting, like holding Q actually opens a menu now, and you have like a whole bunch of
Okay.
options, and you can actually direct the little robot dog thing.
Okay, that's good.
Like spawning stuff in works completely seamlessly as well.
Good.
Like yeah, like the different game modes actually feel like they do
Mhm.
stuff. It's great. Like like they're present and they're actually good. So
The specialists are cool, I think.
yeah,
My
there's
biggest
like
thing-
4 additional or something. No, more than
Okay,
that.
so there's like
There's
there's
like
like,
six-
probably
8
like 6
total.
additional. Yeah.
10
Yeah, there's 10
total?
total.
Okay.
And they all seem cool. Like they don't seem.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one yet where I'm like, well, this is useless. I'm never going to use this. They all seem like interesting for different situations. They had to disable the gear for one of the specialists because he has a shield, and I guess the shield was deflecting tank shells when it's supposed to not do that.
Hell yeah.
So-
Hell
Wait,
yeah.
It
wait,
was a little
deflecting?
busted. I don't know if it was like ricocheting them or just defending it, like they exploded on
So
contact
funny.
and didn't do any damage. But yeah, so he'll have a shield at some point, which sounds cool. I think my like minor rant is the thing I keep seeing people complain about, and I've seen this from like people who I really respect in their write-ups, and then I've seen this from people like screeching on like Reddit threads and on Twitter and stuff as well. Is this like they took the classes out and now the game doesn't have any identity anymore and teamwork is dead? And it's just, I think it's so funny. I was like reviewing the classes of past Battlefield games, and the last time the class selection mattered even a tiny bit as anything other than weapon selection was Battlefield 2. Like
Yeah.
if you look at Battlefield 3 on, the class selection has always been, do you want to use an assault rifle? Well, guess what? If you want to use an assault rifle, you also have to be the medic. And half the people who played medic still didn't fucking revive anybody ever. So
Mhm.
it's like the people, like the way that people are like melting down now about how like anybody can take a recoilless rifle. It's like, which is like an anti-tank gun. It's like, yeah, that just means now you don't have to use a fucking shotgun in order to have a rocket launcher. So you
Yep.
can not be useless when in a firefight. Because the shotguns were always, I saw someone saying like, oh, the shotguns used to be tactical and strategic. It's like, that's bullshit. No, they didn't. They sucked. They always sucked. It always
Yep.
sucked. You'd use your
It's true.
pistol instead because you couldn't kill anybody at range with the shotgun.
Yep.
so I think a lot of people who are being really critical of it have these like rose tinted glasses on, where they're remembering the 2 or 3 times out of hundreds of games where maybe they were squatted up with friends and someone repaired a tank, instead of the 99% of the time when no one ever used a repair tool because the tank got blown up before you could repair it anyway. And like that is coloring their opinion of this game, and they're like upset about it, when if you actually have, and I don't, this isn't meant as like a gatekeeping thing at all, but if you actually have been playing hundreds to thousands of hours of every Battlefield game, this is the way it's been played. Like this is the change to not having classes. All it does is give you more flexibility as a player to craft a play style to your liking. That's it, which I think is great. So I really like that.
And it's interesting, like keeping an eye on the kind of response on, you know, the Twitters and the Reddits and stuff like that. People are so negative on this game, but it's great. I think it's a super excellent game. Like people should be playing it. It's really good, and it's probably
really
going to
weird.
Getting better.
Yeah, it's really weird. The backlash against it is very surprising to me, because I just think it's a lot of people who I think it's a lot of people who don't actually really know what they want. And because go play Hell Let Loose and tell me, like, I play Hell Let Loose with people who I know who complain about about losing the classes. But then when we play Hell Let Loose, they complain about how no one's playing a medic. And it's like, what do you fucking want? Because the reason that nobody plays the medic in Hell Let Loose is because the guns suck. Like, you don't want to, I mean, like, you feel like you're ineffective in combat if you play as the medic, which is how it probably should be, because you have a very powerful support ability. And all anybody ever wants to play is the machine gunner, and then you can only have one machine gunner per squad, which thank God for that in Hell Let Loose. But like, then people get mad and salty about not getting the gun they want. And so it's like, what do you want?
I mean, like if you think about it in another game term, like let's think original Overwatch, right? Like people who play Mercies or Lucios or whatever, like generally they're spending a lot of their time focusing on their own team more so than the other team, unless you're doing like a Battle Mercy or like a YOLO Lucio. But like generally their role is to kind of focus on their own teams more so than focusing on the other teams. Like Mercies always has her heal / buff gun or stick, whatever, out, and always buffing up her own teammates. Like that's kind of what the medic class was in the old games too. It's like they're more focused on looking at all those icons that scatter the ground that says like res, basically.
Well, and if you play Maria now, one of the specialists, you get all those res icons. Like normally when you're playing, anybody can revive, but you have to kind of notice that someone's down to revive them. They don't show up on your screen as an icon unless they're in your squad, or you're kind of close to them. If you're close to them and looking at them, you'll see the icon. But Maria gets she sees the icons all over the UI like the medic used to, and then her piece of gear, she has a healing gun. It's super fun to play as her. Like I played as her last night, and we didn't win. Breakthrough's really poorly balanced towards the defenders. I've never seen the attackers win. It's very fun mode, but you just have to go in knowing you're not going to get very far as the attacker. We were playing on attack, and we pushed way further than I'd seen before because I was running around the front line healing and rezzing people. So you can still have that experience if that's what you're looking for. But the real answer, I mean, not to sound like too much of a dick, but the real thing is people who pick the sniper class and want to pretend like they're actually helping the team when they used to just sit in a tower and snipe at people. And those, I think, or people who chose the medic class and then just ran around with the assault rifle and didn't really do a lot of the medic gameplay. Like I think those are the people who are complaining about the identity of the game being gone. Like I heard one friend said that he saw somebody say like Battlefield used to be a game where one person could turn the tide of the conflict. It's like that's not true.
Not in a 128 player game.
Well, even in 64 player games, it's like that's kind of the antithesis of the one player over the entire match being very good can certainly have sway, but like that's not the point of the game. That's the whole point is that you are part of a huge team and you have to kind of hope that the team is going to work towards in the same direction. And but it's never been like, nobody's ever talked in team chat to truly coordinate things. Like all this stuff that people are complaining and saying is part of the Battlefield experience that's lost in 2042. It happens in like 1% of games.
Yeah.
And it's cool when it works out, but you could do that in this game too if people would actually talk to each other, but they won't.
Yeah.
Because
well, and it's interesting. There's only team or party or squad chat. Like there's no all chat. I guess it's kind of learned from League in that way.
the
So
team chat's
often,
bad enough.
yeah, it is. But like that means you're gonna have to negotiate with your teammates instead of negotiating with enemies like you do in a certain other game. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think I do.
Allison?
I do.
Yeah, I
Oh.
know.
Oh, I see.
That we could use that as a transition if we want, but
Are you guys done with talking about it?
The last thing I'll say about the chat is, and then we can move on. People are it is officially the weirdest that I've ever seen a game chat work outside of MMOs, maybe, because it'll be like one game with people saying like horrible slurs, and I mean, I have the profanity filter on because I don't want to deal with any of that. So, but it'll be like people just like all their messages are starred out and they're just flinging hate speech at each other. And then the next game, I said like I died, and somebody was like 15 feet away from me, and it was very safe for them to come and revive me. And they looked at my body and then pulled out their rocket launcher and started shooting their rocket launcher ineffectively at like an enemy position, and then they ran directly past my body. And so I typed in chat like, what goes through your head when you see a teammate writhing on the ground in front of you 15 feet away, and instead of helping them you say, no, I will not, and then run away? And I thought it was funny. It wasn't like I was actually pissed. I was just like, man, like you would have barely interrupted your play. And then a bunch of people are like, whoa, man, calm down, you need to stop, you need to be nicer, nobody's going to help you if you're going to be mean. And I'm just like, just last game you called someone a slur. Like, what? It was a joke.
You need to play with me versus For Life. That guy was great.
It's such a weird, like, half the people playing seem like the worst shooter community people ever, and the other half are like very like, hey, it was probably bugged. That's what they were like. He probably tried to resurrect you, but it didn't work because of a bug. And I was like, okay, whatever, never mind, forget I said anything. Anyway,
that's Battlefield 2042. I'm sure you fully understand what that game is about now after that discussion.
Portal is fun. It's very fun too.
Yeah, we talked about the gameplay a lot like a month or so ago. But
yeah, with the beta. So yeah, it sounds like on a base level that stuff is still what it is, and then they've just added in the stuff around it. But
yeah, and it's all good.
Except Pat, I see you. You want to talk about like 30 seconds of Yu-Gi-Oh? That's all I can assume. It's just Shadow Realm.
Yeah, I mean the only other two things. My one was like 30-second sim check-in, just because I think maybe if you're somebody on the outside looking in or interested in sim racing, it's interesting. Might be interesting. Like I got my CSLDD. I talked about it last week. I don't need to go into all that again. The interesting thing about that, I mostly did sim racing this week. I played Battlefield a tiny bit Thursday night and last night, but I was racing every night before that. But having the like really powerful force feedback wheel is interesting because it's generally, I'm finding that I really like to race sports cars now. Like I used to be able to say, you know, like my favorite cars used to be the IndyCar and iRacing and what's called LMP2, which is a prototype car, which has a lot of downforce, but isn't an open wheel car. And now, interestingly, because I have so much force feedback, I actually really like GT cars and sports cars that aren't actually super crazy heavy on the force feedback. And instead you get more of like a fidelity out of the force feedback instead of just the car fighting you, which has been kind of interesting to understand and to like really start to understand my driving style, because I have more fidelity with the feedback, which is very fun, and is something that I think if you are casually interested in racing and simming and want to take it deeper, having a really high fidelity wheel like that makes it really interesting to kind of go through and find what sort of preferences and style you have. So that's kind of cool. The other thing, last night I just got into the first couple of real battles, but I got really excited when they showed the trailer for that Shadowverse Champions game, and I assumed that it got delayed because
where was this trailer?
It was in a Nintendo Direct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the game came out in
Right.
September. I didn't realize it was a Switch exclusive. I thought it was just at a Direct. And so since I never saw it on Steam, I was like, oh, that game must have been delayed. It must be coming out in early 2022, which whatever. Turns out it actually came out, and it came out on Switch, and it got pretty solid reviews, but it just was like semi budget. It was like $40. So it's like budget title and on Switch, and not a Nintendo exclusive, or a first party game. Is exclusive, but not first party. So I guess it just didn't get a lot of press. But I started playing the demo. I haven't finished the demo yet, but I'll probably pick the game up when I do, because it's a lot of fun. If you like, one of my favorite older games from when I was younger are
Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel of the Roses.
Yeah, like the Yu-Gi-Oh games and the Pokemon trading card game. I really, really like that style of, hey, here's a trading card game, but it's within a video game and you're not spending real money on it. You're just like going around and collecting the cards and then playing against the AI. And this Shadowverse Champions game seems like it's that to a T. The one thing I need to confirm before I'm all the way in, although I'm assuming this is the way it works, is if you get money and then buy packs of cards, as long as that's the way you acquire cards, then I'm all the way in. But it's fun. It's really weird because it's 100% just like you're in a Persona-esque Japanese high school, a little more like or a little less serious and adult than in Persona. It's definitely like kid friendly, but you're like the new transfer student in this Japanese high school, and you fall in with your group of friends right away and stuff, and then one of them wants to start a Shadowverse club. But in this game world, it's like reality. It's a phone game. It's just like a phone TCG that everybody plays on their phones, and when you play against someone, you have like a dual gauntlet. But it's not like, I thought they were going to be just like ripping off Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's not. It's just like a weird little like thing they stick their phone into when they play, so they can hold their phone in front of their face and push
the Pip Boy
tap on the phone. Kind of, yes. That you slide your phone into. So like they have this very extra, like whenever the match starts, where they like do an animation where they put their arms out and then like they'll like grab their phone and hold it in front of their face and then like slide it into the dual gauntlet and then go like arm to play. But then they're just playing the phone version of Shadowverse, which is very funny to me. But the UI is really good in the game, and it's very interesting. It's like the thing that's about Yu-Gi-Oh is there's sort of a cohesive style where even though they're playing these fantasy creatures, it kind of fits with the aesthetic of the real world to a degree. This game is funny because it's just totally like not. It's like near future looking Tokyo high school, and you're playing like Fairy Goblin, which is like totally doesn't fit the aesthetic at all. But it's fun, and I'm looking forward to playing more of it. It's kind of drags a little bit in the beginning, but I sort of expected that. And has all you're running around the school campus and talking to people and dialogue, and then playing game, and I'm sure there'll be a story of some sort. But and I guess it has online too, which is weird because there's also the
card game. Yeah,
but there's the digital. I'm surprised that they put online in this. I would think they would go go pay money for cards in the phone game.
Sure.
But we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, I recommend it if you're into those classic TCG video games.
Well, speaking of games that are maybe somewhat similar to Persona, but not really at all.
From what I understand, they're fucking better than Persona. And if you say anything else, you're a piece of shit.
God.
You think Persona's better? Well, you're not a real fan. You don't understand where it comes from.
Die,
my
must
God.
try. Come, I clap for you. Catch no ball, can or not.
No.
This is all a bunch of Singlish.
Why do they?
That's what I figured.
oven when
It's
you
more like
of the food.
Singlish
out.
Megami Tensei. Am I right?
Hey.
I was just activated. I must kill the prime rib roast of Micronesia.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
would you say that SMT5 is Die Must Try?
wait, which one does that? What did that mean? Yes.
Die Must Try is like something is the best. You should try it no matter what.
You know, so I really love it, but I don't know if it's necessarily something everybody must try. It's just if you're into what it's doing, it's gonna be fantastic. So basically, I don't know if we said, but Shin Megami Tensei 5 just came out. It just came out yesterday, so I've only put a couple of hours into it so far. But man, it is really good. I'm just a heads up. I am one of the casuals where I got into the series because of Persona. But I'm still have a lot of backlog games I need to get. I still have a big backlog of games in the series I really want to play.
You didn't emulate a fan translation of SMT1? Unbelievable.
No.
How do you even have a podcast? God.
Yeah. Oh man. The whole discourse around that has been really funny because I think that's very silly because basically what started it was an IGN review was like SMT5 doesn't quite have the heart of Persona, and people lipped their shit, and I'm like, I mean, Persona is so much more popular than Shin Megami, like the OG series. It's like, I don't know. Well, there's a lot of people who, like me, got into Persona and then were like, let's play Megaten, but it's not for everybody who likes Persona. So if the things you liked from Persona were a lot of the character interactions or the school stuff or any of that,
the life sim, dating sim,
yeah,
kind of stuff,
you'll not like that because Shin Megami Tensei 5 starts you off like you're going to this high school, and then like 20 minutes it's like, well, now everything's shit and Tokyo is destroyed and you're 20 years into the future maybe now, and you gotta survive and work with demons, and
you gotta negotiate with these demons.
Yeah. So it almost feels like it is almost like, I don't know, laying off of that expectation of people getting into it from Persona, where it's like, oh, here's the people that you meet at high school. Here you're walking around your school, you're meeting people in class. You hear about these like rumors of people disappearing, and you go, oh, is this going to be a thing? And then it's like
there's some sort of midnight channel.
and then you go into this tunnel and then you leave it and you're like, what the fuck? Tokyo's completely covered in sand now, and it's like completely desolate, and there's like a war between demons, and you're just like, what's happening? So
this happened to my brother,
like...
my buddy Eric. This happened to my buddy Eric. It's wild.
Yeah, exactly.
Sega should pay him.
But yeah, no. So I've been really enjoying it. It's like I said, I have a lot of I really do need to get back into other games in the series, but the core gameplay of negotiating with demons, putting them on your squad, and doing that whole system is really, really kind of addicting to me. So that's been really fun to play with so far. The whole environment is really like beautiful, but also like desolate and really interesting. The whole vibe of mainline SMT, where it's like this is the war between order and chaos, and you're just like, okay, I don't know, just like this very I don't even know how to describe it, but it goes for that kind of
where Persona has a bit of playfulness. This seems like it's more like gritty in its own way, but not like gritty actual.
Yeah, well, it's
not like Gritty,
it's
the famous mascot. Are you negotiating with Gritty?
I
Like,
wish.
can you get
Oh
Gritty
my
on your team?
He would
if
never
I could have
join a
Gritty on my
team.
squad. No,
Even though he's a
on it,
team
he's
mascot.
on it, he's on
but
it, he's on
he-
it, yeah.
don't worry about
But-
that.
if I could negotiate with Gritty, that would be like game of my life
He
for
doesn't
me.
negotiate.
No, yeah. So it's. I think that the overarching story itself is pretty bleak. Because here it's like basically it throws you into this situation. There's been this war in the past. You're trying to figure out what happened. Everything's gone. It's all sad. But there is still quite a bit of humor in it. Like I sent both on Twitter and to us pictures of one of my first demon negotiations, where it's like I'm just negotiating, and the slime asked me, why should I join you? And I said, well, I'm the protagonist. And he's like, who gives a shit about a protagonist? And I'm like, oh, did I fuck it up? He's like, well, I'm the best side character, so you want me on a team? And I was like, okay. And then I got another one this morning before the cast where the demon was like, hey, shake my hand and I'll join you. Like, let's negotiate this. So I shook the hand, and then they leave a piece of paper in your hand that's like, nah. And you go back to the fight.
That's
so
pretty
there's just
good.
like, I know. There's been a lot of like really good negotiation moments where you have to kind of I mean, it's a lot of figuring out their vibe, but a lot of just like kind of guessing, and there's a lot of humor to that. So even with this very kind of desolate world and this overarching bleakness, there's a lot of humor, especially in dealing with the various characters and everything. So that's the one that I shared on Twitter, this with the slime. If I was fucking laughing out loud because it just cracked for something. I it's just like this bleak world, and you're like, okay, this is I'm gonna get this slime on my team. I need to do this, and then it's just suddenly pops in with this weird humor. So it was great. So
All right, Allison, I have two questions.
yes.
One, have you encountered any of your old favorites? Have you encountered your Jack Frosts and your giant wiener chariots and the dude what's on a toilet? Is that Belphegor?
Yeah, not yet. I mean, it's like I'm seeing all of the familiar ones from the various games, so I'm like, you're here. It's if you've played Persona, or if you've played any of the games in the series where you do have to do that, there's a lot of the recognizable ones. Like the first one that you encounter is a pixie, which is pretty standard for a lot of these. I haven't run into a Jack Frost yet, and I'm like, please. Right now, my best friend is my bestie is Neko Shogun, which is like a giant, which
the
is
cat, the cat that's carrying the flag.
Exactly. I'm like, I love you. I will never use you, except I totally will in like probably about 20 minutes.
Yeah. So okay. The other question I had, and Andre, you're muted.
Damn it! I was muted.
To go for it, then I'll ask my question.
I have things to say about Cat Samurai. one of the
Samurai
cities.
pizza
Well,
cats.
there's a castle, Hikone Castle, and they have a mascot. And there's a cat samurai named Hikonyan.
Hell
Nyan is what
yeah.
cats say. So
Love it.
Hikonyan.
So bad.
He's good.
Oh,
That's
all.
flawless.
So, okay, the other question I had is because one of the core parts of pretty much, well, all the Persona games I've played, so 3, 4, 5, is the party system. Is there still a party system all up in here?
Sort of, because so a lot
More
of
like
it is
Pokemon, isn't it?
right, exactly, where you have a party system, but it's basically you and a bunch of your demons. So you have a bunch of your demons at once. So it's really a lot. With Persona, there's a lot of you keep shifting what your persona is basically.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's like, okay, I need to have a squad that's very.
Have you found a Belphegor?
Oh, we asked about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I missed it. Yeah.
I have not, unfortunately, because I
Or
am.
fortunately, Oh, you're a Belphegor fan. Okay.
I just like the weird. I was just thinking about this too, where like when I play Pokemon, for example, I want to have a team that's both effective and cute. Whereas here in like the Shin Megami Tensei or Persona, I'm just like, I want the weirdest fuckers in my team.
I want that dick chariot.
Exactly. It's like I want dude on a toilet. I want dick chariot. I just want like the weirdos on my squad. So
Swing low, dick chariot.
Can't make that the title.
No.
If we were still on, if we started an OnlyFans, maybe, but
we're not starting at OnlyFans.
no.
Anyway.
Pat's naked feet on his sim rig.
Again, if anybody wants to pay me a lot of money for those photos, just DM me. If you get $1,000 per picture, I don't even care what you do with them. I'll take pictures of my feet on sim pedals. Whatever.
And that's my favorite demon in Shin Megami Tensei is Pat's feet.
On sim racing pedals, though, there's like it like floats.
See, they're just like when they attack, they're just like slamming the gas down or the brakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the tackles.
But yeah, so I'm just really enjoying it so far. I'll see where we're at. It hasn't. One of the other things about mainline Shin Megami Tensei is its reputation for difficulty, which I haven't quite seen yet. But I think
Have
a lot of
gotten to the first boss.
See, it's hard to say because you're doing a lot of exploration around the world, and one of the things that they have in this are these abscesses, which are basically like
love it.
I know, it's like, let's make it as gross as possible, but it's basically like a demon nest that you kind of need to clear to open up areas. So I've beaten a couple of those, but I'm like, do those count as bosses? I don't think so. But they're also like different demons than the other ones that are in the area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know. But it's so we'll see. I think a lot of it right now, at least for me, is just being, you just have to be mindful of HP, MP, and just you just have to be thoughtful and actually and actually work with the game systems. You have to be at all successful, you have to be doing the demon fusion, for example, or negotiating, or you can't just brute force your way through the game. But also, like, when
well, I was gonna say, like, what are you using for like MP items and stuff? Because it was like sodas and shit in the Persona games. Like, are you still finding old soda machines?
Still sodas.
Oh, okay, so
yeah, actually, that's
in
funny.
desolate Tokyo, there's still soda. Okay.
It's kind of funny though, because like there's the Amrita soda, which is the one that does it. But one of the other things it does that one of the ways that you can make money is finding these old vending machines, getting the items from it, and then selling it to the shop, which are like, because they're like these ancient artifacts. So, and a lot of them are sodas. So you're just like,
Hell yeah.
so you're selling this like ancient artifact, which is like a can of soda from a vending machine.
Behold this Mountain
20-year-old
Dew
CC
Code
Lemon.
Red.
Exactly.
Check out this Dr. Pepper, motherfucker.
God, I love CC
No Dr.
Lemon.
Pepper in Japan.
God damn, now I want
CC Lemon
No Mountain Dew
slaps.
either.
Some Pocari Sweat.
Ugh.
There we go.
Now we're talking.
But
Oh, what's the one with the marble in it?
No, ramen.
Ramune.
Ramen, yeah.
Ramen. It's not.
Oh no.
I don't think it's very good.
It's good.
What? No,
It
The,
it's-
depends on the
the melon one
flavor.
is good.
Melon. Okay,
Yeah.
melon.
Melon one is fine, but they're so sweet.
You're
They
so
are.
sweet.
Well, that's why.
I mean, in
Well,
this
that's
case,
why
I think
they're
that's a bad
such small
thing with like how
bottles.
just Pat's kind of saying it derisively. So
Yeah, like
you take that back, Alex.
that's toxic positivity. That's what Ramen
Mhm.
delivers.
Huh.
Anyway, let's
Anyways,
move on. We
Shin
don't have to
Megami
talk about
Tensei.
this.
Yeah,
It
but
good?
there's there's a lot more exploration than I thought there would be, especially since you do have to like find those items, or you have to find these Mimon, which are basically like
Tima.
where you like have to get you get rewards for that, and that allows you to upgrade stuff. So you get glory, which allows you to get miracles. So that's a whole thing. But
Wait, what is a miracle other than magnets?
I mean, how do they work? But
Indeed.
they're basically like upgrades and stuff. So it's like, hey, if you have a miracle, it can do a permanent boost for your fire, or for finding stuff, or for other stuff. So
Got it.
I don't have many updated yet, but they seem pretty great, and so you have to do a lot of exploration for that.
That's cool.
The other thing that I think is really quite nifty is that this might be one of my favorite looking Switch games, because I think it's really very good looking. Not to be one of those the only desert I know is of Dune, but I saw Dune again on Thursday, and it's kind of gives me the vibes of Dune 2021. If only not just because it's desert, but just like how it can make it look just really gorgeous. And sometimes how you're just walking around and there's just like these specks of sand that are just like shining, and it just looks really beautiful, even in its desertness, and then in
Sure. In almost like a journey kind of way.
kind of, yeah. So it's just like this, like you're in this bleak post-apocalyptic Tokyo, and it's just kind of a bummer, but a lot of the times you're just walking around and it's like kind of amazing how beautiful it is while you're navigating around these fallen buildings and everything. So I think it looks really, really fantastic. So that's been really pretty fun too.
Sounds
To do
pretty
that.
neat,
So
eh?
yeah, so I think that, it's not Persona, but I think it's good to note that, just because, there are a lot of people who like specific things from the Persona games, like that kind of party system, like that community, like the life sim stuff that you just aren't going to get from this game. But if you know that going in, and you like a lot of the combat, you like that sound of the story and the atmosphere and everything, I think Shin Megami Tensei 5 is a really good time. So I've been really enjoying the few hours I've put into it, and after the cast, I'm looking at my Switch right now, going, I'm gonna play that right after.
I know I would like it a lot because I love the other SMT games, but I'm also just like, there's no fucking way that I'm gonna find time to play that game.
Oh,
for
I know.
at least another year or two, and I feel bad about it. But
Well, how
there's
long
just
is
too
it,
many
is it supposed
games.
to be?
I don't know,
It's
actually.
like 40 to 50. I don't think it's like, I think it's the new style of JRPG where they have better editing and it's not 200 hours, but
Well, it's also
I
one
came in
thing
on
that-
Persona 5 at 100 hours in the original version.
yeah.
Yeah, and I put like 120 into Royal, so
For what it's worth, it seems like the How Long to Beat does not have data for 5 yet, so I could be wrong, it could be super long, but
Yeah.
it does seem like Persona 5, the sentiment I've seen is more that it doesn't overstay its welcome, even though it's very long. I've only seen a few people say they think it's too long, so
looks like Shin Megami Tensei 5, according to Game Rant, says that the main story will run you somewhere between 50 to 60 hours.
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Which
and you can get
is
more
good.
stuff with like side activities too, but
Generally, I
yeah.
think that's as long as single player games should be.
Honestly, I mean, minute I spent with
Sure.
Persona 5 Royal, but it's like most games don't need to be that long for me, and even that I'm like, one of the things that I think is great, and that it seems like a lot of other people are noticing too, is with especially like Persona 5, the intro is so fucking long, where you're like, okay, there's the tutorial is basically the first palace. You're being told by Morgana, go to bed now, and it just takes a very long time to get into the kind of swing of things, especially. Whereas Shin Megami Tensei 5, it takes maybe half an hour.
That's good to know.
If that, where it's like you have this intro, and then it jumps you in, and you're like, all right, time to go do this gameplay. So it's
if you were just sitting and powering through it, it wouldn't be a big deal. So I don't want to be too critical of it. But like when I started the Shadowverse Champions demo, I was laying in bed and I was like, all right, I'm going to play this for half hour before bed. And like, it'll probably drop me in a game within like 5 minutes. And then it's like, nope, here's the anime intro, which is not very good in that game. I'm sad to say. The song is pretty lackluster. And the video is just him walking around in the city and riding a train. They never show any of the card game stuff whatsoever, which is weird. But then it's like, okay, you meet the guy at the dorm, the sweet guy who checks you in, and then you start meeting your friends. And like I played for like a half hour and I didn't see a single card. Nobody even said the word Shadowverse, and I was like, dog, please pick up the pace. So I think that's a big thing for me with JRPGs generally, is I'm hitting a stage where it's like, please make the game happen. Like, please tell me about your world while we're doing stuff, rather than give me 2 hours of exposition up front where I don't really do anything but talk to people.
Yeah, and it thankfully doesn't do that at all here, because it has like an intro, and then it's like, oh well, it just puts you in your school life long enough for you to know what you're missing before they throw you into this post-apocalyptic nightmare.
Yeah.
It's like pretty cool, but I think that there's an element, as somebody that likes a lot of JRPGs and is getting more into JRPGs, like the reason that I'm like putting everything down is because like right now there's something about JRPGs that is just like hitting my brain different right now, where I'm like, that's all I really feel like playing at this moment.
It happens.
And yeah, I'm just like right now on a big JRPG kick, but yeah, no. So I'm tolerant to a lot of bullshit, and it really doesn't do that here, which is, I think, very good.
All right. Well, that's Shin Megami Tensei 5, which was like announced with the Switch or
Yeah, it
shortly
sure
after the
was.
Switch. Still waiting on Bayonetta 3 to release, but we did see proof of life of that somewhat recently. So yeah, finally, all those promises are coming true. But in the meantime, I don't know if this a segue makes sense from one apocalypse to another. What the fuck is happening in JoJo's?
Oh,
Oh,
we want to talk
Isn't
about
there
that?
some sort of, I don't know, I don't know, you put it on
I
the
think-
list.
I don't want to
Oh yeah, no, that's
I don't want to limit you, Alex, and in your, but JoJo's is definitely a thing. I feel like can be talked about for, you could do a whole JoJo's podcast that's like hundreds of episodes long.
Probably.
I'm sure
Yeah.
it exists.
Yeah,
They
I have started jumping down this rabbit hole.
are you on like the old JoJo's, the current JoJo's?
Well, the current one. I think it started in like 2013 or something. Yeah. So
Don't-
like,
isn't it a continuation of the old JoJo's though?
No, it's
Yeah, because it's the first arc of the manga, right? That's
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
like
Right?
it's basically a complete retelling of the manga, as far as I'm aware.
Got it. Okay.
Cheska would know better. We can ask her later.
I have no idea.
but,
So you would know
as
better
far
than me.
I think it's more like a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood versus Full Metal
Cool.
Alchemist kind of situation, as far as I'm aware. And yeah, I'm not that far in. I'm like 6 or 7 episodes in, and it's bizarre. That's for sure. There's already
Everyone's
been-
named after like 80s musicians or some shit, right?
Yeah, well, one of the main characters is Dio. You've got Robert E.O. Speedwagon. You've got someone.
Wait, I
whose
think
last
that's
name is-
in our D&D campaign.
That's a very inside joke, but yeah.
There's someone whose last name is Zeppelin right now. So like, yes, definitely named after old bands.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know how to talk about JoJo's that much other than it's weird. And
Okay.
there's already been vampires and zombies and Jack the Ripper and
Is there a dude who like does like a Matrix like Neo bullet dodge where he like bends way back and he does like a thing? I've seen a thing on TikTok and I think it's supposed to be from JoJo.
well, there's
It's like they
there's
just like are
the
Proculus
JoJo
back bend. I don't
the
know.
JoJo poses are kind of a meme
Yeah.
in and of themselves because there's just so many of them and they're all so weird.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
yeah, it's good. If I'm not really a oh god, what's the friggin' genre? What Dragon Balls and
Shonen?
Bleach is- Shonen.
Shonen?
Thank you. I'm really not a shonen fan.
Is JoJo shonen? I
It
never
is.
really.
Yes.
But like, it's also kind of like an ultra parody in a lot of ways, and just ramps everything up to like a billion. And it, again, very strange. So I've been enjoying it for that, for just the weirdness, and
Okay.
gonna continue with it. It's pretty long. Like there's like 5 seasons, and I think a 6th one
Sure.
coming out soon. And
I had a total misunderstanding. I thought that that JoJo's was like the anime was from like the 80s. But even the OVA series that preceded the current anime, which is only like 13 episodes long from what I'm seeing here, was from the like there
90s?
were
yeah,
I mean,
it's really
the
weird.
manga started in the 80s.
Yeah.
So it kind of has that kind of vibe, I
For
guess.
sure. I just didn't realize that the manga it took so long for them to adapt it. But also some of these episodes of the OVA series came out in the early 90s. So that must be what I was thinking of. But there was like 5 episodes from the early 90s and then they went back and did the earlier parts of the manga in the 2000s. I don't know. It's weird. It seems like
They
the
made a
series
fighting
you're
game.
watching. Yeah, it
They
seems like
made
the series you're
many
watching is the
fighting games.
one at this
Yeah.
point.
yeah.
Even
It
though
seems
it
like
started in
the,
2012.
yeah, it seems like the definitive adaptation from everything
Yeah.
I've seen.
I think
Black
I
Crunchyroll,
saw.
might finally watch
I think
it.
I saw JoJo's Bizarre Battle Royale going around.
Sure.
Like
That would
I
be
think that
weird.
was. I think that was a thing. I now have to look it up.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Like,
now
I
that
think
I've
it was like
seen-
in like testing or something.
Yeah. Now that I've seen a lot of these characters, I totally understand why you would want a fighting game with them, because they're all very unique. They all have
They're
very
jacked? Oh.
They're also very jacked. Though some of them start not jacked and then eventually get super jacked. Or there's
JoJo's Bizarre. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go for it.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure: Last Survivor is a multiplayer battle royale game based
Oh,
on the
yeah.
JoJo Bizarre Adventure franchise for arcades. It was first announced in December 18,
Arcades.
2018. It was initially set to release in summer 2019, but was delayed to winter 2019. A location test for a beta version was done in January 2019. So I don't know if it's still in
Interesting.
development.
Who
or not.
made it?
Well, it came out. It came out.
Namco Bandai.
Yeah,
Oh, that makes sense. They also made the fighting
It
games.
looked weird. It was like 20 players.
Yeah,
because
and it looks like it's an arcade game.
So that probably like failed miserably when everything got shut down months later.
Yeah.
But,
Anyways,
yeah.
that's going to be a continuing journey. Another continuing journey is I'm continuing Muv-Luv. I'm
Oh,
probably like
it's
10.
it's on
What?
it's on Steam.
What? Oh,
JoJo
the
game?
Battle Royale?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really funny.
Well, I guess I know what you're playing. Right?
Yeah, Andre noted JoJo's fan.
Yeah.
I put
Um,
JoJo in League of Legends.
Yeah. Yeah, I've continued Muv-Luv. We don't have to talk about it for more than a minute or two. It's getting good. It's kind of the thing where I've been falling into similar to the Umi Neko trap, where it's like, I'm just gonna play a chapter tonight, or I'm gonna like basically read a chapter and get into that. What? Oh, Andre, you look like you're gonna say something.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm full of shit. It's not on Steam. I don't know why there was a Steam thing on this. I don't know. Just it's not on Steam.
Okay. But yeah, like Muv-Luv has become one of those of just like, oh, let's read a chapter. And sometimes the chapter is like 20 minutes and it's like, oh, maybe we'll do another one. Sometimes a chapter is like an hour and a half. It's like, wow, that was a lot of reading. And the characters have gotten way better. The story has gotten fascinating in just the ways that they're making stuff like basically every time a chapter ends, it's a new day. Like it's a new day in a calendar. And it's just like every day they're just coming up with really weird, bizarre things. Like, oh, suddenly this part of Tokyo that they live in, all of the houses were purchased around it and they leveled all the houses. And now it's just a complete empty, barren wasteland. It's like a big desert in the middle of Tokyo. It's like, okay, sure. Where else are you going to go with this story? It's just constantly doing weird stuff. It's like, oh, this ultra wealthy character, like extremely ultra wealthy, is now like very friends, and it's like, oh, what do you guys want to do for lunch? And she's like, oh, I can handle this. And then she calls in like a chef brigade of like 1,000 chefs, and they all show up and are like making the fanciest stuff in the world. And it's like, what? Okay, sure, why not? So it's doing some interesting, weird, fun stuff. And I know the crappy, or not crappy, the traumatic shit is coming, but for now they're doing a good job with the funny, sweet, kind of endearing, strange stuff.
They do a good job with that, then it'll hit even harder when the other stuff hits.
Yeah. But yeah, again, that's a continuing adventure. We don't need to talk about it for too long. I'll try and more sum it up when I've finished it.
All right.
What else do you want to hear about, Andre?
I'm gonna say let's shelve this other stuff for next week because I want to kind of wrap this up sooner rather than later, and maybe you'll have some more thoughts on your tech purchases somewhat recently.
Interestingly, we went through the stuff on the document that's like, oh, we can skip this if we want, rather than the stuff that was interesting. That's okay though.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, this stuff we can come back to it. It's, it's not going. It's not like, oh, it's news or anything. It's just, it's new stuff.
Yeah.
I watched the first 3 episodes of Arcane. I realized, oh, the second 3 are out now. Like Act 2, I guess. So I need to watch those.
Very excited.
That's good.
Just awesome.
It's real great animation. And I'm not going to share too many thoughts about it other than I didn't really know what the cast was other than like the 2 main characters and like having a general idea of where it's set. And I was like, oh shit, I love that character. I love that character. I like that character. I'm like, oh my God, it's great.
They smartly did it without doing the Clone Wars thing, which I watch Clone Wars and listen to a more civilized age as it goes. And they talk about constantly in that podcast, and I agree with them that like every 2 episodes, someone has to say, I've got a bad feeling about this. Every 2 episodes, someone has to say like some quote from the old movies or reference the old movies in some way. And it's very fucking tiring. Arcane does a good job of not leaning too hard into the source material in a way that is overly fan servicey and self-referential. But there's just enough of like, oh, it's that character.
Yeah, and like the place it's set is like in the technological kind of center of the world. So, and that just happens to be where like all the characters, a lot of the characters I like are from. So that was like a cool thing. Like, oh shit, this person.
Also it's fucking brutal. So
Yeah, real
prepare
good.
yourself. There's a couple scenes that are almost hard to watch.
Yeah, real good, and I'm looking forward to watching more.
Is it approachable as someone who knows nothing about League and doesn't particularly?
Yes, 100%. 100%.
If anything, the
it
other
is,
thing.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, Pat. Oh, it's a prequel. So it's basically how do these characters get there, or like these individual characters and
how do
their
they
relationship.
Get summer nerd rifted?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't even feel like it's setting up the game. I mean, it just feels like a really good story set.
It's just how did these two characters that ended up on the Rift become the people they are?
So it doesn't feel like an advertisement, really. No. It feels like a story.
It does not feel like a G.I. Joe cartoon in the 80s or like Transformers.
Right.
It feels like the quality, like it is really well animated, and like I would. There's stuff where it's like, they probably can't do like a live action thing of this because it'd be so expensive or whatever. But hey, if like more stuff was done in this animation style,
I think it's even better than if it were live action because it actually looks.
Oh yeah. Great. You can. It's very stylized and it looks good.
And I would say definitely watch it even if you're not into League. I think it's an awesome show, and as someone who wishes that I had more, like League is one of those games that I would play a lot more if I could somehow find an extra 2 hours a day. But I would say even that, watching it, I didn't go, oh man, I got to go play League of Legends right now. What I was like, oh man, I can't wait for the next set of episodes to come out. Like there was no like, it's based in that world, but I think it's totally stands on its own. It's just a really good show narratively.
Cool.
Yeah, because it doesn't really touch on like Summoner's Rift or anything. At least in like the first 3 episodes, it does just things personal relationships.
Like the shittiest part of League of Legends, in my opinion, is that there's characters. Well, that aside, yes. And the game itself is like there's characters that in the game are framed as like they're crazy, and they've always been framed that way. And the show goes into like no, this person has trauma. They behave the way that they do and they're stylized the way that they are in League of Legends because they have, and this wasn't the case when they were originally designed, but this is all retrofitted and retconned in, but because they have certain trauma that they've experienced, and let's show that in a way that is really well handled and like sort of respectful of the process that got them to who they are. And I think that it handles that like way better than I would have ever thought a League of Legends show would. So
it's better than Joker.
Absolutely.
God.
I mean, that's a pretty high bar.
Absolutely.
Oscar nominated.
All these medications. Oh my God.
Anyway, that's
Joker.
On time, on target.
Well, I'll come back with more fleshed out thoughts maybe next week when I think it'll be finished. I think, but yeah, I think it's 9 episodes. Anyway, news. Delays. You thought we had delays last week. This time they're hitting close to home. Y'all pre-ordered some hardware, and you ain't getting it this year.
No,
I wasn't anyway. But
yeah. Well, both
always Q1.
Yeah, both the Steam Deck and the Playdate, the little handheld with the crank on it.
Crank.
Get that cranking. You will not be cranking it this year. You won't be cranking it this year. You have to wait for next year to crank it.
This should have been a segue. Did you notice that they say you just have to crank it like 4 times in a row at one point in Arcane? And I was
yes,
I had an out of body experience.
Really?
Because
oh my God.
It's two
you gotta crank you gotta crank it faster or something. Yeah.
Are actual characters from League of Legends, and they're like, you just have to crank it harder. All we have to do is crank it. If we crank it, it solves the problem. And I was like, you have to stop saying crank it.
Are they using actual cranks in this moment?
It's like They're
Or are they
like increasing
masturbating?
rotations,
They're like
ratio, or
no, they're not
RPMs.
masturbating. There's
I mean,
no-
not in the shots we see.
That's a good point.
Hmm.
But anyway, sorry, I don't mean to
Yep. No, you're right. You're
derail
right.
us, but the cranking conversation made me lose my mind.
I mean, honestly, that's fair. That'll be,
Not since Norman Reedus and his hog have we cranked it so much.
Man, those were the
Also,
golden
cranking
days.
did end up working for them.
Yeah, it's I think that, I mean, it's kind of understandable, right, with all the supply chain stuff that's been an issue right now. Playdate, I think they made a pretty transparent update basically about how they got units. They realized that the batteries in a lot of them were kind of fucked, and they're like, well, shit, we're gonna have to redo the batteries. So it's kind of like, it's as somebody that's really looking forward to it, and I've paid my money for it. It's like I want it, but at the same time, it's like they do seem like they're trying to make it a good, a good piece of hardware. So it's
Yeah,
I'm cool with it. I have multiple pieces of hardware that are delayed right now too with that and the Steam Deck.
And
So
hopefully this just means the Steam Deck comes out like more gooder, and because they have more time to refine it, and so when it finally does hit, there's like less bugs and stuff. There's always going to be issues,
like on the
but it'll just
operating
be
system
more
side.
polished. Yeah, it'll just be just like a more polished experience and fewer quirks, more games just working, and like maybe more stuff ironed out in the meantime. But
like the Steam Deck one doesn't bother me because I haven't taken my money yet. So
Yeah.
it's like, whatever. If I had paid the money for it and then it got delayed, I would be like, well, fuck you. I don't, that means you're sitting on my
100%.
money.
I think with the Playdate, it's pretty justified where they're saying like, okay, where they straight up said, hey, we don't want to ship you a fucked up product. So
the Playdate is significantly less expensive than the Steam Deck. So
but I'm used to. I've done that multiple times. I paid for my Analog Pocket. I just looked back in August of last year. I don't know when that fucking thing is shipping, but I paid it.
Was that a Kickstarter or just like direct?
Nope.
Okay, just paid direct them. Okay.
Yep. Yep. It got delayed a couple of times, and they say it's going to be shipping in December. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Indeed. All right. Well, next up, I can't. The PS5 has been hacked. I hadn't seen anything about this. Alex, so, enlighten us.
There's a link that I've put there. I'll put it in the show notes also. It's our good buddy MVG again, talking about the scene where two separate hacking groups at basically within the same day announced that we were able to hack this machine. Like we're able to
What are they
get
doing?
into
Running Linux?
They might be able to, but they've been able to open up like the debug menus. They've been able to kind of get into the kernel. Like they've basically been able to just unlock the PS5 and start doing whatever they want with it. But the thing that I've seen people talking about this online being like, oh, but this is going to there's going to be lots of hackers in games and there's going to be like all this piracy and stuff. But I don't think that's going to be a factor anytime soon.
The DRM on that stuff and the checks in order to make all that stuff work right now are so ridiculous. It's not going to. Yeah.
That, and also neither of these groups are going to release this code for a very long time.
Yes, that too.
If ever. And I think in a lot of cases, these kinds of groups are the ones which will talk to Sony and show them here's how we found this exploit. So theoretically, they could be patched out eventually. It's almost like they're doing white hat hacking in some ways. Like some of them aren't, of course, but. Sony's going to find out what the methods they did. They're going to patch those out, and no one's going to ever use them. So, it's very unlikely that this will end up being malicious in any capacity. So, I've seen so many people being like, "Oh, this is evil, this is terrible, this is going to make the PlayStation environment.
It's going to ruin
just
Battlefield
the worst.
2042.
It's going to ruin the world more than NFTs. But no, don't worry about it. It's fine. Watch that MVG video. He does a really good job explaining it.
All right. Next up, I should have segued to this, but I was not on top of things. Riot Forge, which is like Riot's third-party like interaction thing, getting other games in the League of Legends universe made, is releasing a game finally. The first game they're releasing, they've been working on other stuff, created by Choice Provisions, who makes the Bit Trip games, called Hextech Mayhem, which seems to be kind of like a runner type game, with like, I don't know, some platforming. Yeah, rhythm runner.
Well, makes sense from the Bit Trip people.
Yeah, so I guess if that's something you're into, like, I'm not really a runner person, but maybe if the music's good, like, I
These
don't
are
know,
pretty interesting.
Riot puts out some good music. Ziggs is all right. That's the character you're playing as. He's kind of a little annoying, but
it looks kind of fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's probably something I'd mess around with. It depends on how much money it costs.
I think it's free.
It's up.
No, it's $10. It's $10.
Yeah, $10, whatever.
On Steam. On Steam, yeah, $10. I don't know what it's on phones. It's also on like the Netflix Android game thing, which we didn't touch on last week. But yeah.
I really wish, based on how good Arcane is, I wish that Riot would take, say, to the story team that did Arcane, do a video game story and just make it play kind of like League of Legends, but make it a narrative game.
They've got Ruined King. I don't know, coming out sometime. I don't know what that's actually going to be.
Cool. That looks cool.
It's supposed to be coming this year, but
all of their games, like there's the one from, there might be Ruined King, the one from the Battle Chasers people, which looks cool. I'm sure that'll be a good JRPG style thing. But it would be great if they just put some single player stuff out that played like League.
So what you're saying is they should make something like Warcraft 3, which is the genesis
not an RTS.
But
not an RTS.
You want the custom game modes in Warcraft 3.
I want to play as character. I want to play as League characters.
Yeah.
Use their abilities in like kind of challenging people.
I want the League mechanics, but then I want to change the skins to anime characters.
Oh.
So I can play as JoJo versus. That was my favorite. I was playing Anime Arena and
give me a tight
3.
like 6 to 8 hour narrative game where I play as like 10 different League characters, so that just as one character's mechanics get kind of stale, I'm swapping to somebody else, and you don't even have to change. You could just do it in the League engine. Maybe just make like shop items sort of like loot, so that you have some progression with each character over time. But
loot. I thought you said lube.
That too. Loot. I thought you said lube.
Ooh.
I see what you did there, Pat.
Do you?
Next, I think so.
Did Pat see what he did there?
It was Grand Theft Auto is on this list, and they make a lot of like dumb sex jokes about lube and stuff in GTA Vice City at one point.
Right.
I was referring to a specific thing about this story. So Rockstar put out the GTA trilogy.
Whatever.
Yeah. So Rockstar put the GTA trilogy out on like various platforms, and it kind of is a mess.
An extreme mess.
Yeah, it's like from like all aspects, kind of across the board. There's like stuff wrong. The PC stuff, like the servers for their store, or like the Rockstar launcher was down. Yes, pulled from Steam because of like some files that were in there that were not supposed to be, like music that they didn't have the license for.
They didn't. That's not what they said the reason was. The reason that they gave was for like because those authentication servers were just never working, so people could never play the game. Like that's the official reason they gave. But then people.
So there are multiple reasons. Yeah.
But it's so ridiculous to me. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Go ahead. No. Finish what you're gonna say.
I was just gonna say that people kind of went into the directories and didn't even have to like decompile or they weren't encoded in any kind of way. They just went through the folders and found like the main script files that like old modders were looking for years, but now they're just there unencrypted with all the comments, with everything. It's just like, okay. So it's really careless. And then they found that like it was like people were complaining like, oh man, the soundtrack is different. Like they took out a lot of stuff, and it's like, okay, that makes sense because of licensing. Turns out all those songs are still in there. They just put a flag on them just saying like, hey, don't play these ones.
I think all of that was intentional, completely intentional.
I really doubt it. I don't know why it would be intentional. Like it just looks
because they wanted people to have, because people there wanted people to have that stuff, but they couldn't officially include it.
Then why'd they release such a shit version of the game?
I don't know. I mean, if it wasn't intentional, it's such a gross degree of incompetence. It's like it makes me go like, I'm never paying for a Rockstar product ever again in my life, because what a complete shit show. That's like as bad as Cyberpunk or worse.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So supposedly also included were the files for Hot Coffee, which was like
because they never learned their lesson.
Mini game in San Andreas, which got the game pulled from shelves, and like they had to put an AO rating on it.
The whole moral panic too.
Like, yeah,
I think that might have been like one of the first things I knew about GTA as a series was like Hot Coffee. So it's like,
yeah,
I just think that there were some cheeky, like the quality of the port aside, or the remaster aside, I really think there were some cheeky people who were like, just leave the files in, and maybe Yahoo Anime Rules will take over, and people just keep it quiet and not say anything.
Doubt that. For me, it comes across as like a team that was rushed and underfunded.
But why would the Hot Coffee files be in? How on earth? How could that possibly happen as anything other than intentional? I don't understand that.
People not giving a shit. Like,
I just think they took the source code. They just took the source code and then didn't.
Yeah, they didn't like delete them from. They didn't delete them from like whatever original.
They didn't do a cleanup. They didn't rebuild it. They just used what was there and then just kind of made the models a lot shittier.
They went, turn off the fog.
It just makes me go like, why am I toiling away at my job when I could clearly just be so garbage at doing something that I get paid to do it for no, despite like gross degrees of incompetence. It blows my mind that anyone could put out a product like that and not the whole team just get immediately shit canned.
I've heard people say similar about the WoW team in the past couple of years. So
yeah, well.
Like, I don't know. It seems like IMO. It just seems like a company resting on their laurels, and now that like they're putting something out and it's terrible, like people are just finally being like, oh, maybe this company wasn't always the best. Like it's the kind of thing.
It's almost worked in their favor in some ways, because people people are clowning on it, but they're still buying it so they can post dumbass screenshots of this thing.
Unless they're on Steam.
Yeah.
But like, no, that's valid because it's probably going to sell enough copies to justify its own cost.
I wonder if like this Hot Coffee stuff actually pans out, and like if it gets pulled, like retail copies get pulled again, because like there are retail copies out there, right? So
I don't know.
Like, do like Nintendo and like Sony, Microsoft, do they pull it from the store again? And like,
who knows?
Like, at least like digital copies like relatively easy fix. You still gotta like, it's not nothing, but like, you can still just go, okay, it's patched out, we don't have to like remove us from the digital store or whatever. But like retail, I wonder if that's gonna bite them in the ass again.
Yeah, I wonder if Hillary Clinton will see this and tweet about it, being like, it's back, here we go, let's get the Federal Trade Commission back together, let's get the band back together.
She's gonna tweet out, I could go for some hot coffee. That's gonna be it. Okay. Well, yeah.
Anyways,
so
it's pretty bad.
Maybe don't GTH,
or do whatever. Some of the screenshots are hilarious.
You do you, boo boo.
Oh my god, they're so fun. They're like almost unbelievable.
Like
that
the
they're not. Yeah.
like the one with the two gangbanger characters, and like the one like now they just kind of look like I don't even know, like Sims characters. Whereas before they looked
just like the super smooth faces and like
Yeah,
no
like-
texture, basically. Yeah,
like before they
they
looked
look like fucking sharpied on like eyebrows and yeah.
Exactly. Like before it looked like they were trying to go for something like out of like Boys in the Hood kind of style, but now they look like Sims characters. That it's like it looks comical.
Some of that stuff that I saw early on, I thought looked kind of cool. Like it's obviously very different, but I thought it was like, okay, like this is more interesting to me than just like a direct charge me again for the same thing of like, hey, there's a visual style happening here, and maybe and most of what I saw was from GTA 3, and I was like, oh man, some of those shots of the city with the new lighting look really cool and stuff like that. But it's clear that does not. Specifically, it's really bad in San Andreas, and it just does not hold true for the view distance stuff is the thing to me that was just like,
Oh, that was amazing.
yikes, how the hell did that ship? That stuff does not seem intentional to me. I think let's leave these songs we couldn't get licensed in for someone to find.
Sure, that is
I can see that
a little
but
more.
the fact that the game looks like trash. It's
Yeah, that's
Like-
not intentional.
Like people, it's however long ago they did the Silent Hill like collection on like PS3 360 era, but the removing the fog just like drastically changed and ruined those games in a lot of ways. And then people seeing like, I thought this map was a lot bigger. It felt a lot bigger when it was foggy. Now I can see across the whole thing, and it's not
like,
big.
You realize,
there was a thread I saw of someone like sitting on top of the what's it called, Mount Chiliad or whatever.
Mount Chiliad, yeah.
Sitting on top of it, being like, man, when I was a kid, it was awesome because the fog, you couldn't see the ground, like you couldn't see anything around you, and like now they posted a screenshot of them sitting on the ground, clipping through the ground,
in the ground,
and then like
seeing across the entire,
seeing the
like,
entire map.
Seeing to the edge of like this, like where the sea is there, and like it's like a hard cutoff.
Yeah, it's
weird.
just like people are just
the
being
edge of the plane. Yeah.
Some of the screenshots feel like it's like, oh, did you have to, completely break the game or, mess with it to get to that level? But it's like, no, this is just how it shipped.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. Next up, the Xbox app on PC is getting better. Thank God, finally. They're letting you choose where you install games.
Wow.
And I assume maybe the Windows Store is just letting you choose more generally where you install things. I don't know for sure. And you're actually going to be able to mod games now, which is cool because that has not been a thing you can generally do with the Windows through the Xbox app versions of games. So Game Pass, now you can play Tony Hawk's Pro Crusader 3 on Game Pass now.
Can you imagine Tony Hawk's Pro Crusader Kings 3?
I think that's a mod.
It's
a thing. Yeah,
like,
it is.
So,
yes, it's a
wow. So Crusader Kings
What?
with Tony Hawk and like Bam Margera, and not Bam, he's a shithead, but who am I thinking of? Like
It's
you know,
just Tony Hawk's. No.
okay, it's just Tony Hawk. It's just
variants. It's just variants of Tony Hawk. Yeah.
Tony Hawk
see.
Prime.
Yeah, it's my friend Gary, the Steam user of Hunden said, my friend Gary couldn't decide whether to play Tony Hawk or Crusader Kings 3, so I made this mod to help him out.
Oh my
And
god.
it has,
I love it.
you get a new leveled lifestyle trait, Skater, for your Crusader Kings characters. They have a new decision to start skating, a decision to hit the skate park for some stress loss, about 24 new skating events. Genghis Khan spawns as a skate legend. Genghis will never attack a fellow skater.
Wow.
I love it.
Oh, and the best part:
billed-
sufficiently skilled skaters may introduce skatrilineal succession.
God.
The crown
Quote,
goes to the best skater, as determined by the Council of Skate Electors.
I love
And
this so
quote,
much.
quote, possibly the most comprehensive skating mod for Crusader Kings 3. Possibly.
Yeah. So now you can play that with the Game Pass version, not only on Steam.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So hey, that's good news. They're actually doing stuff with that Xbox app. Like it's been all right for a while, but like it was better than the Microsoft Store on Windows, which is not saying much.
Yeah.
But now like that they're actually giving you like, you know, letting people use their fucking computer as it was meant to be used. That's nice. And I think, last one. Ubisoft, the Ubisoft employee group, is it Better Ubisoft? Is that what they're called? Launched a petition, not a position, because right? That's what's happening here. I didn't write this. I believe it was Ubisoft. A Better Ubisoft put out a petition to get support from gamers and community people to help them put pressure on management at Ubisoft, who has not acknowledged or addressed any of their demands or requests regarding like repercussions or standardized ways of handling issues of abuse and harassment in the industry, or in like even just at Ubisoft, better working conditions, pay, etc. There's just nothing from Ubi on like, you know, in response to this. So
I imagine they're probably not going to get any because their shareholders aren't going to care.
Yeah, not unless they start striking or something like that. Yeah, if they can, they have to like really put their feet to the fire. Like, okay, you're no Far Cry 0 hour or whatever. I don't know what they're going to call it.
Yeah,
Far Cry Bay of Pigs.
God, but I'm not surprised. Basically,
no,
it sucks. Obviously, it sucks big butt.
Yes,
and. Like, it's interesting because if I remember correctly with the petition they did the first time, it wasn't just the employee group. They actually asked for like fans and players to also like speak up to show that, hey, like it's not just us that thinks this is the case, you know, like it is a sentiment that is echoed outside of just these walls.
Yeah.
But the Ubisoft management doesn't care. They won't.
Not unless they have something. Not unless there's like, you know, leverage that used against them that they like, you know, what are they going to do? Bring in like scab labor to make the new Far Cry? Like there's going to be like, you know, issues doing that. And, you know, they're a big company spread across multiple countries and, you know, it's a situation. I don't know what they have to do to like, you know, organize the employees and make something happen, but that's probably what'll need to happen. Same with Blizzard, you know, which we talked about last week and every week since, but there needs to be like drastic employee action to make something happen. But it's hard to make that happen because especially when, you know,
you're talking to a brick wall.
Yeah, well, you're talking to a brick wall, and then, you know, things are like, you know, unsure, and like, you know, what is the, you know, if things don't pan out, you know, what happens to me? Do I lose my job? What do I have to do with my family? Like there's a lot
hard to give people. But... Yeah, it's when it's your employment on the line. It's hard to get people to really, you know, understandably, it's hard to stand up for that because if the worst case scenario is losing your job, then that is a very bad scenario for a lot of people, for most people.
Yeah.
So hopefully, you know, this stuff starts to move across more places in the industry and things start to get better. But it's going to be a long, slow process.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's going to do it for this episode. I need to get to sleep.
And I'm just going to say, with the other news we have on the list that we're skipping, Unity buying Weta is fucking crazy to me. We don't have to talk about it, but like,
yeah,
that's insane. Like that makes no sense.
Peter Jackson don't give a fuck. You know, like, yep,
Nope.
whatever. I'm done with it. You can have this. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, that is gonna do it for episode 198 of the Gaming Fix podcast on November 13th, 2021. I've been your host, Andre Cole, aka the Wet Gamer, aka your partner's favorite regional slang. I'm going to be streaming later today, if you're listening to this on Saturday, on Twitch, twitch.tv/Colesl4W, raising money for Extra Life. I'm doing a bigger stream, longer stream than I usually do. Come hang out, see what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, really. We'll figure it out together. And you can head over to my Twitter, COOLSL4W. And I don't know, do you follow me? Pat, where can people find you?
You can find me at PJC Plays on Twitter.
Nice. Allison?
Maybe on the battlefield.
Oh.
We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY.
Great. Alex?
You can find me being a Sian Angmola.
What did you call me? You can find the podcast on Twitter at at Fix Podcasts. Guys, still, there's too many. You can email us gaming@fix.space if you want, I don't know, something to say on our 200th episode coming up here in 2 weeks. Wow, 200 episodes. That's crazy.
Wow. 200. Wow.
What a number. What a season.
Wow.
Wow.
And tune in for the season finale. And thank you, of course, to Jeff Davis at Stranger Peace on TikTok, Twitch, Twitter. Good stuff. Thank you for the music. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. It's a good time, as always. And we'll be back next week with another episode. Stay wet, gamers.
Hell yeah.